Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Crash, and in the anime and manga community there is something of a seinen bias at play. Now, when I mention this, some of you probably think of a certain kind of elitist, who goes around saying that seinen is better than shounen. But there is a deeper layer that I want to tackle, another seinen bias that exists within the community that even people who don't agree necessarily with the first take may end up having. Now I'll be tackling that in this video, but first, I do want to talk about that first bias, that first statement, seinen is better than shounen. I think we need to clear something up, what shounen and seinen are. Now, one of my first videos on this channel is actually about this topic, where I talk about the five manga demographics. And I actually did that video because I wanted to tackle this specific topic, but I feel like I've only did it on a very superficial level. So yeah, shounen and seinen aren't genres. I feel like most people understand this by now. They are demographics. That by itself already breaks a common misconception that people have towards shounen, because a lot of people use the word shounen for a specific genre, a genre that is very popular within the demographic and indeed within anime and manga in general, battle shounen. Now, I'm not going to go into depth into what battle shounen is, because you guys know what battle shounen is, but by calling it just shounen, you kinda lose how much bigger and different shounen can be. Stuff like Aku no Hana, Barakamon, Sound Voice, and even Your Lie in April are all shounen, even if they are not what you think when you think of the word shounen. Because here's the secret, these demographics, they aren't given to manga based on their contents, they aren't given based on their actual audience, they are not even given based on maturity or their teams. They are not even given based on the author's own intended audience. Yes, it's not even the author who decides what demographic a manga is. Because when you say that the manga is shounen, what essentially you are saying is that this manga was published in a magazine that targets teen boys as their main demographic. This, at the end of the day, may sound like the same thing, but it's exactly this distinction that allows manga like Aku no Hana to be a shounen while Mysterious Girlfriend X is a seinen. There is no clear line or set of rules that force a manga to be into one demographic or another. And sure, I'll concede that magazines that target older demographics are allowed to push the limits of what they publish. However, even within shounen, there are magazines that target older teens. For example, Shonen Jump Plus and Shonen Jump Square are more lenient than Weekly Shonen Jump. Of course, that has never stopped Weekly Shonen Jump from having mature themes or even gore and violence within their pages. And people think this is a new thing because of JJK and Chainsaw Man needed to read late 80s manga, because Fist of North Star and JoJo aren't really kid-friendly. But of course, this has never mattered for people who argue that seinen is superior, because those people are the same kind of people that when they read a shonen that they like, they argue that that's not really a shonen. Oh, manga like Chainsaw Man and Hunter x Hunter and Rurouni Kenshin aren't actually shonen, they are written like a seinen, except they are not. Because there's no such thing as written like a seinen, because seinen isn't a way of writing. People who think that shonen can be these things just don't realize what shonen can be. But once they do, once they realize just how meaningless their categorization of seinen and shonen actually is, then they will understand just how flawed the entire argument of seinen versus shonen actually is. But there's a bigger fallacy here, because the other point that this argument holds itself to is that seinen is better, is that seinen is good. But seinen isn't good or bad. The reason why people think that seinen is automatically good or superior is because of the other seinen bias I want to talk about today. Let's play a little game. Think of the first manga that comes to mind when I say the word seinen. Go ahead, write in the comments. Now, I'm gonna guess it within 5 tries, okay? So, is it Berserk? Or Monster? Or Vinland Saga? Or Vagabond? Maybe it's Goodnight Punpun. Okay, so most likely I haven't guessed every single one of you, but chances are I guessed a good amount. And yes, I do know if I did this to shonen and then did the 5 most popular manga, it would still work, but not to the same extent of seinen, because shonen doesn't have 5 or 6 manga that everyone talks about. Seinen, on the other hand, does, because seinen for most people isn't really a demographic, and more so a couple of well-received manga that fit within a certain style. And that's why seinen is good, because seinen in the community is just a set number of manga that most people agree that are good. People that includes me. It's highly unlikely that most people will bring Blue Heaven or Blaster Knuckle into the conversation. Not real just because their manga aren't great or popular. Because a lot of people read or watch a lot of shonen, even the bad ones, but that isn't the case with seinen. There's so many people out there that have only read seinen that is curated by the community and never bothered to branch out, or even acknowledge there is stuff out there outside of these specific manga that the community already has cherry-picked as seinen so that they can push battle shonen down. If all the shonen we talked about would be the 5 most popular or well-received manga within the community, then of course shonen would be more well-regarded than it is today. Look, I don't mind people arguing that Monster or Berserk are better than Naruto, Bleach, or Dragon Ball, mostly because I also agree. I have them higher myself. My top 10 is mostly seinen manga. My problem isn't the praise that this specific manga get. It never was, and I need to make that clear. That's not the argument here. The argument is that seinen isn't just that. There's a lot of stuff to seinen, more manga to read. And some of them are great and some of them are not. That's kind of similar to shonen, shoujo, and josei. You need to understand that that tag does not give any value to the work in question. If Berserk was a shonen, it would still be an amazing manga. Once you understand that, and you stop using tags to define your taste, then and only then will you be free to truly enjoy the stories that are being told. But do you want to hear about a really good seinen though? Then check out the video on the left. If you like this, then please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to call your grandma today. And if you watched till here, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.